We are going to hear from Miss Alyssa tonight. This is part one. She's going to be doing a series for us. Tonight is Shakeology, all the nitty gritty. And what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead. Thank you guys for pausing or for muting yourselves. We're going to go ahead and let her chat for about 25 minutes, and then she's going to leave some room at the end for questions. And as always, we're all close here. You guys can contact her, put a question on the thread, or message her directly about anything that we don't have time for. I'm trying not to get into the habit unless we have like some really in-depth stuff of not getting back on after the call ends. I think these are beautifully 40 minutes for a reason. It'll be pretty late by the time we get off of here, and I want Brittany's taking a picture. And I want you guys to make sure you're having that time with your family. So without further ado, Miss Alyssa, go ahead.
All right. So I made a quick reference guide, and let me know if my volume is okay. And can you guys see everything all right? Good? Okay. So essentially, where I was pulling information, I realized when I was talking to challengers that I didn't really have the nitty-gritty details of really what makes Shakeology different, why is it worth spending the amount of money that we're asking them to spend. And I just started going into the coach office and going through the Shakeology training, and started listening to a couple podcasts that were also part of that coach office, which I hit the podcast first, and then happened to see that was part of what they actually kind of publicize as training too, which was great. So if we have time, I'll pop into there and show you guys where that stuff is at. But so mainly, let's just go ahead and dive into the nitty gritty here. So a lot of times challengers will associate Shakeology with a protein shake, which there's protein in it. There's, typically 16, 17, 18 grams of protein, which is great. That's what's going to help keep us full. But I think where we need to try and make a difference here between Shakeology and other shakes is that it's not intended to be a protein shake to help you develop muscle. It's not meant to be a recovery shake. That's why we have Recover in the performance line. Essentially, it is a supplement. It's a nutritional shake. So I've been starting to use the term nutritional shake or supplement instead of a protein shake, because Shakeology was truly designed to fill in all the gaps and those dietary voids in the marketplace right now, all of the nutrients that we struggle to get through our typical diets. So even when you're eating as best as you can, you're following the containers, you're following your program, there's still a lot of nutrients that we actually still struggle to get, and that's why Shakeology was developed. And the other fun fact is that it was kind of truly developed because Carl, our CEO, hates vegetables and truly wanted to find a way to get in a lot of the nutrients he knew he wasn't getting. And that's where that brainchild started. And so essentially where Shakeology is different from what else is out there is protein shakes focus on one macronutrient, protein. And protein tastes really bad when it's by itself. So typically there's a lot of artificial flavors and artificial colors to help mask that flavor. And a lot of protein shakes are intended to be that recovery, get you a quick dose of protein after workout. Shakeology balances all of the macronutrients. So they specifically designed to hit all of the macros, but the real main hitter with it is that it includes an infinite amount of micronutrients. So a lot of the other shakes that are out there in the marketplace, their big punch is protein, period. And even the type of protein there, we'll get into a little bit of why that's important. But Shakeology has the macronutrients, the micronutrients, and we're going to go in now to what those things are. I kind of phrased it a little bit here when people come to us like, but I have this other shake that I use that has less sugar. So for example, if it has less sugar, one of the things I like to mention to them is, oh, well, if you still have a bag of that, I would love to kind of just walk through the ingredients with you. If that's not something you're used to doing, because just because it says it has, 0 sugar, 1 gram of sugar, that doesn't mean that it's not packed with a lot of chemical artificial sweeteners. And so a lot of times we'll see those pop up as sucralose and aspartame and sugar alcohols, which really we want to stay away from. That's a lot of artificial chemicals in our system, and especially if it's a daily supplement they're doing, that's just slamming their system with a lot of static, is what I like to call it, just because your body doesn't want those things and it doesn't need those things. If they say, oh, I found this other shake that has more protein, check the protein source. So when we see different types, because obviously some are going to be like more dairy based and some are going to be soy based. And so when we're looking at that, they're typically called isolates or concentrates, will be how the protein is listed on an ingredient label. And isolates are what are used in Shakeology. They're typically much higher quality, and like their range of protein content has to be between 87 and 95% protein content. That's an isolate. A concentrate only has to have 34 to 80% protein content. So it can range quite a bit, and it's a much lower quality protein, but it can be labeled on the front of a bag as 100% protein concentrate, because it is technically 100% a protein concentrate, but that doesn't mean they're getting 100% protein content. And so a lot of times if it's got a lot more protein, it's just lower quality protein in a concentrate. And obviously Darren, the creator, talks about avoiding soy just due to how genetically modified a lot of the soy sources are. So to kind of steer clear of those, and those are some that can get you to be a little bit of a cheaper shake too, which is the next one. But I found this shake that's cheaper. I bet you did, because this is one of the only ones out there that has really high quality ingredients. So if it's a cheaper shake, it's probably cheaper protein sources, little to no globally sourced ingredients. So it's going to be everything that we can obtain here, typically through a regular diet, which doesn't make it special. We can eat it in the food that we grow here and that we eat here. And potential lack of oversight on supply chain. A lot of times that's honestly one of the biggest things. They're not focusing on quality, and the amount of money that they're putting into auditing their suppliers and testing of the ingredients for whether it's the strength and content or microorganisms or anything like that, that can all factor into oversight on the supply chain. So those are just kind of a few talking points when people mention, but I found this. And then you'll be able to pack the punch with all this type of information. So this is going into a little bit of the science behind Shakeology. So when we talk about the actual science here, a lot of our claims talk about reduced cravings. And the reason why we can make that type of a claim is that the processed foods that people pack themselves with all day long are volume foods. So like you can eat a ton of them and still get next to no nutrients from them. You can make yourself full, which is fine, but your cells, at a cellular level, you are not fulfilling, you're not satisfying your cells. And so your body continues to send hungry signals when those cells aren't satisfied. So that's why you can eat a whole bag of Doritos and technically like you're kind of full, but your body is going to continue to send cravings because your cells are not satisfied. So really, with this being so nutrient dense, even it packs a small calorie punch and, you know, really doesn't hit you stats wise very bad, but it's nutrient dense. So it can really satisfy, can cellularly satisfy you and cut a lot of those cravings. So next, going into digestive enzymes. So if you have anybody that's really struggling with regularity or has digestion problems, this is like Shakeology truly is designed for digestion and making sure that your body can process everything else that you're putting in it. So there's digestive enzymes that are going to help break down food, and there's a couple different types. So they're targeting, so I mean, lactase is to help you break down lactose. It's something that you would find in like Lactaid for people that are lactose intolerant. There's a lot of different enzymes that are helping to break down a lot of those trouble sensitivity type items, just so that people can take in all those different sources and process them appropriately. Probiotics. So probiotics, I've never known the difference between pro and prebiotics, and I get them confused all the time. So probiotics, so these specific kind, it's really been difficult for them to prove this out, but essentially they've identified a probiotic that can survive the manufacturing process, that will pass through the full digestion system and seed themselves in our small intestines to support digestion. So they go through our whole system, and they don't start working until they get into our intestines and help support that. Prebiotics, on the other hand, are food that immediately goes to the good bacteria in our stomachs and in our digestive system to really help with nutrient absorbing, serotonin production. And one of those examples of a prebiotic that we're globally sourcing is the yacon root. So I put a couple examples of ingredients that you can pull off of the label basically and mention, just because those are things that you will not find on other protein shakes. Adaptogen herbs. So these are fascinating to me. They are plants that are actually grown in really, really difficult climates and different severe ecological strains. So they have to really struggle to survive. But these plants adapt and still find a way to make it through. And when we can harvest these and consume these as humans, they actually help reduce the stressors in our body and help modulate our immune system. So when you think about stressors, when cave people, like before we, introduced all the terrible things to the air and the water and all the chemicals in our food, think of how kind of easy their bodies had it in a way of like not having all those additional stressors. So now we're constantly battling what's in our food, what's in our water, and our air. And it's a lot of stress on the body, which causes the body to create cortisol, which is what creates and holds on to fat. So that's working against us all the time, no matter how good you're eating, no matter how hard you're working out. And these adaptogen herbs can really help to calm that down. And some of those are maca, I forget how to say this one, maitake maybe, and cordyceps. And then next on the list is phytonutrients. So these are one of those micronutrients that we talked about that Shakeology is formulated with to help with that cellular satisfaction and to really support the immune system. And it's one of those that really helps to detox and alkalize the body. So that's like moringa, spirulina. I think that's the only examples I have on there. And there's more examples. If you end up, just beating these to death and want more, there's a lot more of them included on the ingredient list that you can use, that you can see from the training on the coaching office. But next, antioxidants, which we hear a lot. So I put the ones that are like fairly like vitamins, minerals, antioxidants you hear about every once in a while. So those aren't going to be as big buzzwords for people. So I kind of put them at the bottom, but you can always still speak to them. There's a ton of antioxidants in Shakeology that are found and sourced through superfruits. So like goji berry, rose hips, camu. These are all purposefully neutralizing free radicals in our systems that contribute to aging and disease. So these are really strong things to have on a daily basis. Let me scroll down to the next page. Those are kind of like the top, 6 or 7 like big hitter items. There's a couple articles too on the coach office if you want to dig deeper into those and get a better understanding. But that's the high level summary of those. So next I have costs. And I know this is a big one for everybody. So I was trying to find a couple tips of how can we talk about cost with potential clients, because a lot of them, I think, come into it expecting a weight loss shake like Slim Fast maybe, a protein shake, just like anything they can get at GNC, and then they're completely flabbergasted by the cost of 30 days of Shakeology. So the biggest takeaway that I had out of this is when you break it down and you look at it, not from a coaching cost, but from a straight $129.95 plus tax and shipping. I didn't include that piece, but technically just the sticker price of a bag is $4.33 a day. So that's $4.33 for a meal. They're probably going to add some other things. So maybe you could round off to like $5, up to you on how you choose to market that. But a lot of times, before you get into the cost discussion with people, if you try and just understand, like, well, where do you get your meals? Do you cook? Do you go out? Do you like sit down restaurants or fast food restaurants or quick, coffee shops? Get an idea that they like to go to places like that, so that you can use a reference at some point saying, well, for this one meal, it's $4.33 a day, which is very easy. I mean, that's less than my Starbucks cold foam cappuccino that I get that's $5.25. So finding a way to connect it to them, because studies are showing that most people, like when you poll people, they're spending at least 3 to 7 to make a healthy meal choice when they're out. And for me, that's really low. Like if I'm trying to eat healthier, it's typically much more expensive. So I'd say anywhere from like $5 to $10 to make that comparison of every time you go out. If you go out for lunch, if you don't pack, that's another one I like to use. I'm like, are you packing your lunch every day, or are you going out to eat? Because a meal at Subway is at least $5 or $6 every time you go. And I think one of the most powerful questions that I saw was, how often do you go to the grocery store and buy 30 meals? How much would it cost you to go to the grocery store right now and buy 30 meals? Like I go to the grocery and I'm trying to plan 5, like for dinner, and I still spend like $150 somehow. So I mean, that's like 10, 15 meals just for myself, and that's not even factoring in my husband. So I know I'm getting a break here for the amount of nutrients and everything else that I'm getting in a 30 meal package for $4.33 a meal. So trying to find ways to compare it to their everyday life, so that you can prove to them that they can budget for this. They can budget for it in their grocery bill. They can budget for it in the amount they're spending at lunch or out at sit-down restaurants or out on coffee, because it's really all about working it into a budget, because I honestly believe almost anybody can afford it if you break down your miscellaneous costs, because that's where people don't realize they're spending much more than $130 a month on that. So we can help them budget and get healthier. So a couple ways to get at them from that perspective. So we had a couple questions about, is this safe for my future client, from a couple different angles. And so the first one being, obviously we have the vegan line, but I wanted to lump in there a dairy sensitivity, because the vegan line really helps, just because the protein source is so whey protein, which is what's in the original Shakeology formulas, is like a dairy-based protein essentially. So a lot of people that have dairy sensitivities struggle to, they really can't process it very well. And so whenever anyone has a dairy sensitivity, I would likely direct them to a vegan line, because it's only plant-based proteins like flax, chia, oat, and pea. One thing I wanted to call out, so if any customers would ever notice that no vitamins and minerals are listed on the vegan bag, the reason why they're not listed out how they are on an original bag is the vitamins and minerals are an additive to the original formula. So they add in the vitamins and minerals specifically because in the vegan formula, they're naturally occurring. So they're occurring in the different ingredients already that they're sourcing for vegan. So they can't list it out individually as an ingredient because it was naturally occurring. So just so that you know, that's the difference. Vegan has naturally occurring vitamins and minerals, still very similar to the original line of Shakeology, but the original line calls them out because they're added. The next one is gluten-free. So technically none of the ingredients contain gluten. However, they're not a certified gluten-free product. So this means that all the Shakeology bags are manufactured in a plant that processes other products that may contain ingredients that have gluten. So they don't have a certification to prevent cross-contamination between lines and between runs of different products. So depending on the level of their sensitivity, and this is coming directly from the creator of Shakeology, it's up to them. A lot of times, consult your doctor, consult your doctor, consult your doctor, because we can't give medical advice like in that perspective. So I would be careful as far as how far of advice you give to people on this list, but just know these are high level conversation starters to show that yes, you are aware of how it can impact these groups of people, but that always consulting your primary care is like the best way to go. So the next is GMO. So they're not certified as non-GMO, but all of the ingredient suppliers for all Shakeology ingredients have to be able to prove that they are not using genetically modified ingredients. They're seeking certification for the future, but the main thing is there's a big cost associated with that since all of our ingredients are sourced globally. So think about sending a certification body to all of those ingredient suppliers to verify. A lot of times that cost is, do our customers really care enough about GMOs to just have it up? It's going to cut, the cost is going to come back on the bag. So essentially they're trying to weigh out, it's already expensive, people already complain about that. Do they really care that we can just stamp the GMO certification on the bag because it's technically non-GMO already? So just know that like it possibly is coming down the pipeline, but that they're verifying that ingredient suppliers are not using GMOs, basically. Pregnancy and nursing, consult your healthcare professional. It's really, you don't want to, I would never feel comfortable giving that type of advice. You can give them the website, give them when you click on the Shakeology bag to add it to your cart, you can click the label and it shows them all the ingredients. So like you could give them that link to show to their doctor. Or if you send samples or anything like that, they can take that to their doctor for them to review and make a judgment call. For diabetics, there's a ton of articles on this as far as the glycemic index of all the Shakeology flavors. So all flavors are below 30, and to achieve a low rating, it needs to be under 55. So all of them are rated really well, so they're a low glycemic food. And it's marketed towards diabetics as a really great option for them to avoid sugar spikes and crashes. So again, it's still one that I would say consult with your doctor, but you can have that in your back pocket of it is a low glycemic food. It's on under 30 for glycemic index. You take that information and get back to me, basically. So those are just kind of if you think of other groups of people that we want to research, definitely let me know and we can update this over time. It can be a working document as we learn more. And then there's a ton of conversation starters in Coach Office. So if you go to the Shakeology training, this is just a quick blurb of it. But there's, hold on, I want to see the chat. Ooh, yes, thyroidism. Yep, I'll add it to the list and get back to you guys. So tons of information on how to introduce Shakeology, how to describe Shakeology. Full-on conversations that you can copy and paste are available in the Coach Office. It's insane. So this was just like a really high-level, easy one to talk about. But when anyone asks, like, well, what's that superfood shake you keep tagging? Like, what is that? What's that chocolate drink? Or what's that chocolate pudding you keep sharing? Keep it simple when you're responding to them. A lot of times I feel like I word vomit of like just, blah, this is everything and it's so great and I get all of my information, or I get all of my nutrients from this. Keep it simple to not overwhelm them right at first. So they're suggesting like, oh, well, it's my daily dose of dense nutrition. And it'll kind of lead them to ask more questions. Or, oh, that's my shake. It acts like a salad, but tastes like a dessert is one of the phrases that they said is pretty successful to loop people in. And then you want to follow up with that on your experience. So, and I personally love it because, or I drink it because I had this, I really struggled with cravings. And whenever I have one of these shakes, I feel like I can get through a day without eating 10 chocolate bars. Like just give it your own personal spin of what is your experience and link it to one of those benefits that Shakeology preaches. So cravings, better digestion, getting all your nutrients, kind of tying the what is it, what was your experience, and link it to a benefit of Shakeology. And following it up with a question to kind of open them up. So if the conversation kind of dies, to be like, well, I'm curious, why do you ask? Like, what made you interested? Like, what posed your curiosity here? And get talking to them. And there's so many full-on big conversations that you can get some ideas from. If you go to Coach Office training, Shakeology training, so many awesome examples. And then lastly, I started digging into boost. It's something I never really paid attention to, all the boosts you can add to Shakeology, and now I'm like, oh my God, I need all the boosts. So there's 3 different ones, and the reason why boosts were formulated were to really help personalize your nutrition even further within Shakeology. You can add 1, you can add 2, you can add all 3 to your shake if you really want. There's no risk of like overdosing on amazing things here. So first is digestive health. So these are for people that are really struggling to have a regular, just passing regular bowel movements and regular digestion. So this is people that may not be getting enough fiber in their diet, so may not love a lot of vegetables, or may not love some of the right fruits and vegetables that can get them really regular here. So this gives them a boost to try and to really focus on digestion. Next is focused energy, which really has my blood pumping and excited for. So there's additional adaptogens, which are those herbs that really help minimize the stressors in your body. And then there's natural caffeine sources like Brazilian guarana, matcha, and green teas for an energy boost without a crash, which is amazing. Because people have asked, oh, can I have Energize more than once a day? And I'm like, they say no more than 2. And if maybe you get sick of the flavor, like you do your pre-workout, if you want it in the morning or something and you're just kind of sick of that flavor, here's an option to just add directly into your Shakeology, and it's not an added drink you have to mix up. It can just, you can go ahead and build off of what you're already having if someone's having a shake in the morning. So this is something I've been like recommending for my mom, who was asking about having Energize more than once a day. So that's something that I'm looking into. And all of these are 20 servings, by the way, and their prices vary. So digestive health, I think, was a little more expensive. Focused energy is one of the more, but Power Greens, which is next, still 20 servings, probably about $1 a serving or so for, I think, for the Coach price. But for anyone who's not eating enough vegetables, if they're worried about not hitting their green containers through their meal plan, they can add one of these and it'll count as a green container towards any of the meal plans that they're doing. So I know we have a ton of people out there like that. So it's just a great supplement just to go ahead and add into, the milkshake they feel like they're getting every day, and they can check off a whole nother green container, maybe throw in spinach in there too, knock off 2, boom. So that's really the gist of everything for now. A really high level, and I know I went fast, but I'll post this to our Coach family page so that you guys can have this, and we'll continue to update it over time. So, questions?
Alyssa, thank you so much. Does anybody else want to cry a little bit? Because we're like, oh my God, we're so adulting with our body right now. We're putting all these great things into it. Yeah. I want you to please post that as a file. And if you're not sure how to do that within the Facebook page, let me know. That way it'll be ongoing in our group, and we won't have to search through the feed a million times. It'll just be right there at the top. Okay, so I have a quick question, and then I had an experience of mine to share, and I think Michelle can touch on this as well because we both just went through it with the pregnancies. So Mom and I have always started off by saying hey, I'm going to give you this sample. You might want to start with half a scoop or half a packet. Did you read anything about that? Do you think that we should just have them go all in? I was thinking more just because if people are wary about digestive things. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I didn't read anything about stair-stepping anybody in. I will dig into that a little bit deeper just because I wasn't searching by that specifically. But as far as any of the stuff on Coach Office, And on the podcast, no one really mentioned that, but I know people who needed to stair step. So I think it's a great call out, because I mean, I think when my sister started, she needed to start at that half because it kind of messed with her system a little bit, and then she could go to a full scoop and then was great going forward. So I think it definitely, at least for anyone that I know had to do that half a scoop, I think it was people who typically struggle with fiber. So like people who would have a fiber 1 bar and absolutely wreck them, or like a fiber 1 brownie or anything like that. So I think there might be something to do with that as well.
Perfect. Michelle said she had to do that when she was coming back drinking the Shakeology after her pregnancy.
Okay.
And that's something I wanted to share too. My doctor, again, like I've seen so many people in the coaching world who are drinking their Shakeology throughout pregnancy, drinking their Shakeology during nursing. My doctor told me a no-go for pregnancy at the beginning because it's so many nutrients that it could overwhelm this tiny little human that I'm growing system, which I think is a kind of a compliment. Like, it's so good for you. It could hurt, like it could cause some kind of whatever. I don't know. But I did drink it in my second and third. So if anybody was just looking for a personal experience.
Okay.
And then my doctor said absolutely yes for nursing, because with all the different things that were included within it, that it couldn't do anything but help with the nursing and with the pregnancy. So those are just two experiences. With that, I wanted to go, I know we've only got like 2 minutes, but Mom said something about one of her challengers the other day had said, because I said, oh, I'm surprised she wanted to do the Shakeology because of the cost. And she said, my health has gotten so bad, I can't afford to not drink this every day. Like, she kind of made that comment to Mom, like something like that. Like, I was on such a great track when I was drinking this every day and doing my workouts every day. When I stopped, that's when I fell apart a little bit. So that's something, a testimony to think about too. I'm going to look into those articles in the Coach Online office and post them this week for you guys. So that'll be just like a one-stop shop. Can anybody see the screen? It's underneath you are viewing Alyssa DeLong's screen. Anyone see how much time we have left?
151 is what I think.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody have a dire question that they can't post about on the page? Anybody? Oh, Mom was talking about the boost. Yeah, I didn't know that information about the boost either, so I'm excited to dig deeper in that. And Alyssa, we'll be doing a follow-up about the performance line. So
yeah.
You're muted, Mama.
Sorry. The other day when I watched the thing on the Energize Recover the Performance line, he did say, and this was the doctor, he said four times on Energize. 4 scoops.
Okay.
Oh, wow. So I'm going to recheck. I'm going to recheck that, and I will make sure you guys have the right information. But it was like over a period of all day, not at one time. But like if you wanted to have it in the morning and then you wanted to do something that night, I'm pretty confident. It's in my other notebook. I'll look and see, but I'm pretty sure he said 4 scoops.
Brittany's taking a picture. Everybody smile.
I am. 1, 2, 3, say cheese. Or chocolate, because that makes me happier. So chocolate.
All right, guys. Big cheers for Alyssa. Congratulations.
Yay, Alyssa, you did great.
Love it.
Thank
As
you.
always, I will be downloading this directly tonight. I will upload it to YouTube tomorrow, and it'll be up tomorrow afternoon sometime. Okay.
Okay.
Bye,
Sounds
team.
good.
Have a good night.